Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, kings and queens of the land. Good afternoon, the royals. Good afternoon, the liberated zones in Africa. Good afternoon to Burkina Faso under the leadership of President Ibrahim Traore. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to Niger under the leadership of President Abdurrahman Tian. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to Mali under the leadership of President Asim Goita. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to the liberated zone in South Africa under the British colony, where the colonial empire. Good afternoon to KZN. Good afternoon to President Zuma and the MK Party. My name is Mngoni Mkonto, and this is the Royal Opinion. Click the like button and subscribe. Today we're talking about the coming economic collapse, the cause of the coming economic collapse basically we can say the cause of the next um, economic collapse, basically the collapse of the powers that be their economies are facing collapse. What empire, the British Empire and the Chinese Empire. I want to talk about all of this. And I want to talk about why the, the world, why all of these people need Africa, why Africa is critical for the world. Let me first mention that Niger is the best performing economy of the year, according to the IMF. Niger is growing at a rate of 10%, according to the IMF. So Niger is the best performing economy in the world. Let's remember Niger has been taken over by the African through the barrel of the gun. Abdurrahman Tian, President Abdurrahman Tian of Niger took over power by overthrowing the previous government through the barrel of the gun. All the European countries said they did not want to cooperate with Niger because Niger has performed a coup which they were not happy about. So because they did not want this cooperation, uh, Niger was sanctioned by the European countries, put into sanctions, but now they are the best performing economy in the world. What does all of this mean in about what we are talking about? I'm still trying to gather information, and I want to take you together with me as I gather the information about what would be the actual cause of the next economic collapse. The Chinese, uh, what normally the politicians, when they talk about China, would never say, what they never tell us about China uh, is that the Chinese economy is now failing. The Chinese economy is now collapsing. The American economy has been collapsing. The dollar is under threat. Many people across the world want to uh, move away from the dollar. Some people are forced to move away from the dollar. So, because some people are forced to move away due to sanction, many economies want to move away from the dollar. And moving away from the dollar means the collapse of the American economy. But let me talk about the actual cause of the economic collapse. Let me first explain the economy itself, how I define economy, how I I define inflation, and how I define deflation, because these are the terms here. Inflation and deflation. Inflation is when prices are skyrockets. Inflation is when prices, or when the, or let me explain how inflation happens. Inflation happens when a particular goods is basically inflated in the market, meaning more of that particular goods is supplied than it is required by the market. That item will fall, its value will fall, and when the value falls, that is meaning putting more of the goods than they are required and causing prices to fall, or causing the item to have less value. So because the item has got less value, this is what is happening. Let's say you are selling an Apple laptop, and you sell it for 12,000 rand, and then suddenly everybody else around is selling the same laptop. Now you've got a competition. Before you were alone, now you've got a competition. That is inflation inflecting their product into the market. And because the product has been inflected into the market, then the price is bound to fall. That is inflation. So when the prices falls because the particular product has been uh, inflated in the market, is called the prices would go higher when the money loses the value. It means you will need more of that particular. If there's an oversupply of the overprinting of the dollar, overprinting of the rand, what's going to happen? The rand will lose the value. You're going to need more of that rand value, because the value, the rand itself has lost its value. That is inflation and deflation. So I want what is currently happening in across when people are oppressed, they tend to have other ways to protest. When people are oppressed, they tend to have other ways. Some other people do have other ways to liberate themselves. I read about the story to slavery. They were taken from Africa. I think it's Togo. They were from the Togo. The people who were coming from the Togo, when they took them for slavery to America and Europe, they say they used to kill themselves than becoming slaves. They used to kill themselves, committing suicide, uh, than becoming slaves. So you find, and then you've got 300 men that you are going to sell, and all of these 300 men refuse to become slaves by killing themselves. So the people from that area were no more taken for slavery because um, of the way they were resisting slavery. They preferred to be to kill themselves than to become slaves. And because of that, the master did not know how to deal with these people because they can they are not afraid of death. So the master, because his main thing is to terrify people uh, through death and hunger. So if you are acceptable, if you are not afraid of death and hunger, then the master has got no hold upon you. So there were Africans who came from the Togo who resisted slavery that way. White people did not go to take slaves in that nation because those nations refused to become slaves, but in a way that European has never imagined. In China, people have been oppressed. You can't rise against the government of China, and you can't talk as a citizen of China, you can't talk for free uh, without being any movement or anything is it's being censored. Videos are being censored to find the people who are out of line in order to put them in line. So the Chinese government has managed to oppress people or to suppress every possible revolt that could come from the Chinese people. They've got uh, systems and structures in place to be able to quell any kind of protest, to be able to stop any kind of citizen who want to rise against the state. But they have implemented, first let me talk about the when they had a problem, uh, the Chinese people had a challenge that their agricultural land, according to them, their agricultural land was becoming dwindled because they wanted to develop those areas. They wanted to build uh, high rise buildings. They wanted to put in businesses in those agricultural places. So the agricultural industry of China could not feed the Chinese anymore. And in 1979, Chinese government or 1971 decided to start restricting people from giving birth. In 1971, they restricted parents to give birth only to two children. And then they changed the policy in 1979 because they were not happy, because thought still more children are being born in China, and they wanted to reduce the population so that they can be able to feed the population within the produce of China, even with the reduced forest, with the reduced agricultural place to plant food. So they thought the solution for that is to restrict birth, and when we restrict birth, more people, the older population are going to die, and then we're going to have less people. Um, they predicted very well, but some other things they did not predict, or they did not realize. They did not realize how difficult it would be, or they did not realize that the people that they want to eliminate are actually the economy. The economy is the people. The human resource is the economy. China has is powerful in the world because of its economy, and it's because of its people. China has a population of 1.4 billion. It had a population of 1.4 billion. It has now been overtaken by India, I think, because the population of China has been decreasing. In 2023, 2022, 2023, the population of China declined by 2 million. In 2024, the population of China declined again by another, uh, by about 3.5 million. And the reason for this is because young people have to first, the best system, the best economy, the best way to run an economy is through agriculture. If you want to build a sustainable economy, it has to be built around agriculture, because that will never collapse. That industry will never collapse. As long as people are still alive, people will want to eat. So that is the sustainable economy. But the world is not building economy around agriculture. They are building economy around gold, around mines, around building economy around gadgets, and forgetting about the importance of the uh, agriculture and people, the importance of preservation of the trees, the importance of preservation of the natural land as it is, the importance of preserving the natural forest for everybody. They want to, they think I raise buildings will help their economy. So what is currently happening in China is because of that policy, that one child policy that they implemented, that draconian policy that they implemented, the population of China has started to decrease. The population of old people in China has skyrocketed. They've got more than 300 million old people, meaning population which are more than 60 years. They've got more than 300 million, which is bigger than South Africa, bigger than are around the size of Nigeria. Population, the whole population of Nigeria being old people. That's what is happening in China. So the Chinese population is going to collapse. It will be in the next, we can say in the next uh, 10 years. The next 10 years will be key because what is happening at the moment is the young people are isolated. 50% of it is said that 50% of young people in China are unemployed at the moment. And because these people are unemployed, and the Chinese government had to raise their age limit, they had to increase the number of years in which people are working, the retirement age. That's what I want, in short. That's what it means. The retirement age in China has been increased to 63. And the reason for that is because why do they increase the retirement age? It's because uh, their older population is now retiring in high numbers. The government does not have the money to pay these people. So they want them to stay a little bit longer so that they avoid. Thank you very much for joining there, Nkosana Fulani, one student in class. Good afternoon to the royal opinion family, meaning the royals. I am very excited to be part of this live today, where we get the best analysis, better than those of the mainstream media propagandist analyst. Thank you very much for joining. And thank you very much for being part of this live stream. Let me try and shift a little bit against the sun. I don't know if I'm gonna be successful. I think at the moment I am successful. So we're still talking about the collapse of the cause of the collapse of the economy, the next collapse of the world economy, the cause of the collapse of the world economy. It is coming, it cannot be avoided. I was still talking about China, how it find itself in the collapse, part of the collapse. People say China is rising. Politicians says China is an example of how to run a country. China is an example of how not to run a country, rather than how to run a country, because the way they have been doing, it's very oppressive for their own population. They've been very oppressive for their own people, to go to an extent where you say you want to determine how many children a parent can have. That is a bit too much. I think the government would have extended itself a little bit too much. Not even a little bit too much. The government has encroached uh, into the family structure. They have encroached themselves into the family structure, and they want to determine uh, the families. They want to determine to the parents how many children can they give birth. So due to this, they There's 35 million more men in China than there is women. 35 million more men in China than there is women. These men are not marrying these women. The reason for this is because the young man first have to gain stability. He has to have money. He has to have an apartment, a house where he can marry the wife. Life is demanding in a concrete jungle. You need to have money to raise the children, to take the children to school as a father. So many of the young Chinese are not employed and are not highly educated, but they are not finding any employment in the Chinese government. So they are not marrying. The marriage has fallen by more than 56% in the past 10 years. They say marriage has fallen in China by 56%, meaning people are no more getting married. That's what the government of China wanted to achieve in the first place. Now they have achieved it. People are no more getting married. The population is collapsing. It's going to collapse. Uh, they will have less and less people in China. More people are migrating. Even more Chinese people are migrating outside China. And because, like I say, people do find ways to, when people are oppressed, they do find way to protest. The Chinese youth have come up with a strategy to protest, which is difficult for the Chinese government to oppress or to suppress. The Chinese youth have come up with a strategy where they call it is, first it was lie flat. Lie flat, it means you just lie down, you do nothing, you just lie down and do nothing, you just accept the situation as it is. You accept that you are not employed. You accept that you don't have money to buy food. You will make means in your house. You just accept the situation and just lay in your house. Don't participate in the economy. Don't continue to feed the beast. The beast being the Chinese government. Don't marry. Don't give children to the Chinese government. That's what they call life flat, which is difficult for the Chinese government to stop because they see the numbers. The people are not participating. The young people are not participating in any of their programs. This time around, they've got another protest called Let It Rot. Let It Rot is another protest in China because if you go to the street and protest, they will just make you disappear. So now they are protesting through difficult and unimaginable ways. Let It Rot is still the same thing. Everything as it is and withdraw yourself out of it. Accept that you are unemployed, accept that you can't marry, accept that you can't have children, accept that you are not able to take care of your parents, accept all of those things, accept that the government will not give you a job. Don't feed the beast, don't make children, don't do anything, just sit at home. That's what they're doing at the moment. And the Chinese government does not know how to deal with it. Make your own research. I just don't want to share the videos here because immediately I share the videos, they are going to stop. They are going to stop because that is evidence. So if I produce the evidence, then I make more people believe, and if more people believe, then more people will be aware of the truth of what is coming. So the Chinese government is going to collapse. That's what that's what I'm estimating at least. The American government is going to collapse. The reason the American government is going to collapse, it has been investing in wars. It's not sustainable for any economy or anybody to make their people work for wars only. They tax the American public to take the money and go and cause wars and kill other people. They tax the American people to go and create wars. This is a very bad investment. Taxing people, going around stealing only to invest in a war, only to invest in eliminating and killing people. That's what the American government has been involved in for many years. Countries like Burkina Faso, countries like Niger, in which, and countries like all the countries in Africa, these are the countries which America have been taking, have been stealing. They steal money from us only to make bombs to go and kill more people. That is not sustainable. It's bad investment. If you are a parent and every time you get money, you take money from your children, you only take this money to go and create wars instead of investing for the future of those children that you are taking from. It will not be sustainable for the children. At some stage, uh, 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 you will have to collapse as a leader. So the American economy is going to collapse. The population of America, the rate of growth of population of America is in decline. It's going down. Everywhere where the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been involved, the population has declined. The population growth rate has declined. Everywhere they have offered their services, they have managed to cause the population to decline in every country where they are actually giving their, according to them, their free services. Everywhere they are giving their free services, the populations collapse. So the European population is old. The African population, the only, in Niger, for instance, to give an example, in Niger, the rate, the average birth per woman is 6 children. Average birth per woman is 6 children. The average age in Niger is 19, meaning more people are still children in Niger. But compare that to the population of Singapore. which Elon Musk has tweeted that Singapore will go extinct. The whole country is going to go extinct. There has been a systematic population uh, population reduction by the powers that exist, by the powers that be. Systematic population reduction. I'm talking about the billionaire Melinda Gates Foundation, which has confessed that in every area where they are working, the population has declined. They say when they bring health, the population goes down. When people get healthier, the population goes down because people choose not to give birth. But I say they in those places they poison their fertility of people there in all the areas, including South Africa. The rate of uh, the the um, the rate of population growth in South Africa is in decline because of the involvement of these sterilizations, the involuntary sterilizations that exist through these organizations. So we're not talking about Europe. Europe has already collapsed. The Britain, the only population which is growing in Britain is that of black people. The white people are all, their population is all in decline. Even in America, their population which is increasing is that of black people. Their white people population is in total collapse. Africa is the only place where we're going to have about 2 billion people or about 3 billion people in about 100 years. Africa is the powerhouse, is going to be the powerhouse of the world. Whether they want to free Africans or they don't want to free Africans, this is not going to be sustainable for them. They will not be able to keep control of Africa. They will not be able to keep control of black people as long as their numbers are dwindling and the numbers of black people is skyrocketing or expanding across the world. God, the ancestors of black people, is restoring what has been lost, has eliminated the enemy through his own strategy, and has raised the African to be able to face this enemy. Our numbers at the moment does not mean anything because we've been divided. We're actually very, very divided. We don't speak the same language. And I don't mean language per se, but I mean that as well. We don't speak the same language as Africans. All of us can realize there's a problem. All of us can agree that white people have oppressed us. But we cannot come up with a common solution in which all of us are willing to participate. When it comes to the solution, everybody thinks this way is going to work than that way. And because of that, we remain divided. At the moment, the population and the numbers does not mean anything because all those numbers belong to the white people. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel because Burkina Faso has taken over control of their country and their resources. Niger, Mali, they have taken control through, and they are actually united about it. They have taken control. KZN as well, MK party is rising in South Africa to join the Sahel states in the war against colonialism. Russia is going to collapse. The population of China, Russia as well, is collapsing. They have got a main crisis in Russia. Many people, close to 1 million people were killed since the beginning of the war. If you kill close to 1 million men, young men, in a war, young men who are supposed to be productive in the community, that's bad investment. You cannot take young people to be sacrificed in wars instead of taking young people to be productive. The Chinese people or the Chinese government does not need uh, people anymore to produce. They don't need people to be productive. They will be able to be productive and they will be able to produce more through robots, and they will be able to uh, to sell things to the world, but they won't be able to raise the population of the people to become. They won't be able to increase the population of China, and they won't be able to stop people from leaving China. In old times, when the kings became aggressive, they would just leave the king alone. Kings were behaving in the old, leave your territory and go to another territory, either start their own kingdoms or join other kingdoms which are friendly. Now the problem is the kingdoms now belong to the same person. Whether you leave, you go to the other place, you still face the same person. But everybody will have to come to Africa. At the end of the day, everybody will have to come to Africa to survive. The reason why these people are involved in wars, they are involved in wars so that they can take over Africa, because Africa is the only place where they will still have the human resource to consume their goods. Robots will be able to produce goods, but you need people to consume the goods. You want the robots will not be able to eat the food. The plastic food that they want to produce through the robots have to be eaten by people. So of course they don't need human beings in order for them to produce food anymore. But they still need the human beings to consume the food. Otherwise, what are they going to sell this food to? So any economy, if it wants any country which wants to sustain itself or to build an economy which will never collapse, it should be agricultural based. Our ancestors were not stupid not to build an economy on gold. They were not stupid not to build their economy on metals. They were building economy based on agriculture and activities, human activities. It means you have to be active as a human being. You don't have to sit in one place and be a potato. Every human being was involved in food production. The whole day, human beings were engaged in food production. The economy was agricultural based. They did not, they were building mud houses, not because they did not know of cement. They knew how to sustain, how to build an economy which can sustain itself, which was keeping people healthy without needing doctors. Now people, instead of being active, prepare for their food, they go and buy the food and have to pay the money to go to the gym in order to lose their fat that they have put during the day. Instead of preparing the food on your own, healthy food, in being involved in the process of preparation of the food, so that during the process of the preparation of the food, you are actually exercising, you are being active, you are being alive. After eating the food, there won't be any need for you to pay anybody for exercising. So people were living healthy lifestyle and more sustainable kind of lifestyle in the planet. Not because they were not clever enough, not that because they did not know of concrete. They were building of mud because they knew how important it is to sleep in a mud house than in a stone house. They were not using grass to roof their houses because they were not aware of other materials which can roof houses, or asbestos. They knew of the asbestos. Our ancestors knew of all of these things, but they chose to live a particular lifestyle, which will be sustainable for the next generation. The concrete lifestyle cannot be sustainable. Taking people to a concrete land where they are not able to feed themselves is not sustainable. That kind of economy cannot be sustainable. The sustainable kind of economy is where people are able to feed themselves, where people are able to make means to plant food in order to feed themselves. agricultural based economy. President Ibrahim Traore said uh, his economy would be self-sustainable, will be self-sustaining, meaning Burkina Faso will produce enough food. His aim this year is for Burkina Faso to produce enough food so that it does not import any food from outside. Those are leaders who are making proper decisions about their people. Instead of resolving smaller issues, you create more bigger problems because of poor leadership, poor thinking, poor thinking of the leaders, the stupidity of the leaders. So Russia is falling, Europe or Rome is falling, their population is in the collapse. China is falling, their population is in the collapse. America is falling, their population is in the collapse. Uh, Let us not be lied to and think that gold is the economy. The people is the economy. Thank you very much for joining our live stream. Thank you very much, Mr. Fulani, for participating. And thank you very much for almost being the only student with somebody else that I don't know. Who is the other student in the class who has been around and ensuring that they stick on? I mean, this kind of videos are censored. My videos are actually censored by YouTube. They are not distributed by YouTube. I speak a lot of sense, a lot of powerful things. So they don't want people to know the truth. So they don't. Good. YouTube knows exactly who can subscribe to you. The people that are probably going to subscribe if they see the videos. They know the type of people who can watch the topics that you are posting. So the growth of the channel depends on whether the algorithm, YouTube algorithm, will select the channel to be distributed. When they realize that this channel is actually not strategic according to what we want to achieve, they lower the distribution. When they see that this one will help us to achieve what we want, the algorithm loves them and they send it to the right people who are going to subscribe. So if you are the right person, if you come across this video, click the like button and subscribe. It means you are the right person. Click the like button and subscribe. Thank you very much. I love all of you. Enjoy your day.